We've already looked at how to create powerful maps in Tableau, and we've captured our data set, the basketball courts, public basketball courts in New York City. We've taken the XML file, opened it in Excel, and saved that as a spreadsheet. We brought it into Tableau. We made a really sweet looking map. But now we want to look at a different option, and that's called CartoDB. If you go to cartodb.com, you'll see that it's showing some pretty neat visuals right off the bat. And it really is for creating map visualizations, probably the simplest and best looking and probably the most powerful software that you can get, or platform that you can use. And I want to show you this one because it has an API, it has some different ways to connect the data, and it's just extremely powerful. So we're just going to import our basic data set and make a map, show you how it works. So let's begin there. I'm going to go ahead and log in. If you don't have an account, you want to sign up. And it brings you to this empty screen. There are no maps in here yet. It's nothing. It's just a fresh account. So let's create a new map. And you'll notice that it's got a bunch of data sets already here. And that's because a lot of publicly available data is being sort of aggregated by these places like CartoDB or Tableau. And it's trying to give you easier access to information that's already out there that maybe you don't know where it is. And so we were able to find NYC data. There's also data.gov, which is sort of a federal repository of publicly available data sets. And there's almost 200,000 data sets. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, but there's a lot of good information in there. And what CartoDB is trying to do is get some of these publicly available data sets and sort of curate them for you so that you can find them within the app, and it speeds things up. But we're going to connect our own data set. Now again, it says connect data set because while we're going to be importing data, we're not connecting a live data source. You can connect streaming data sources or APIs to generate your maps, meaning that if it's a data source that updates on the regular basis, the map will always be updated. So you can just refresh the map and the new data will be visible. But for now, we're going to go ahead and drag our previously converted basketball spreadsheet into CartoDB. And we're going to connect this data set and wait for it to import. Now, as it's importing, it's doing the same thing that Tableau did, and it's trying to determine what type of data it is. Now, it creates a default map for us. Kind of landed us in the middle of nowhere. So let's zoom out. And because we had the latitude, longitude formatted properly, it's actually already got everything. It pretty much nailed it. So already we have a pretty good looking map, which I think is awesome. It took a few clicks and we have it. We can go back to our data and see that it actually did treat accessible as a Boolean, which is pretty cool. And it has our latitude, longitude. Now, CartoDB operates off of what's called a geometry variable here, and that's your latitude and your longitude, or should I say longitude and latitude, connected together with a comma. And it's a very standard format to represent a location on a map. Fortunately, nowadays CartoDB actually does it for you as long as it's labeled properly and it's in the standardized format. It's smart enough to take these and concatenate them into the geometry string, and that's really, really powerful. So everything is available, all the information, and we can do some modifications to this. And there's something called georeference, which is really neat too. So CartoDB has the ability to do what's called georeferencing, and that will allow it to attempt to pinpoint the location based on a partial address or a zip code or something like that. So if you have this street address, you can attempt to have it find out where that is using the mapping database and locate this exact address or street corner on the map for you. Again, the benefit of having data sets that have longitude and latitude in there is that none of that's necessary. And there are some quotas on georeferencing for the free account, so the less you do that, the better. We don't have to worry about that. We can go back to our map view, and it says it's found some interesting maps. All right, suggests category, which is correct. All right, so that was pretty neat. I don't know if you saw that, but it's category based on accessibility, and that was exactly what we wanted to do. So we have, okay, we don't have any fields showing yet, but it appears to have color-coded our map for us based on whether or not it's wheelchair accessible. So that really helped out, took a step out for us. We can continue to modify the map to make it a little bit more visually appealing. And on the right side, you have this sort of tray that slides out, and it's going to show some different things. You can do custom SQL commands. There's a map wizard. There's some info window here, which that's the first thing that I want to take a look at is the info window. And what that is that's what pops up when you click on a data point or when you hover over a data point, depending on how you have it set up. So let's leave it as a on click, because there are quite a few data points here in close proximity. It can be quite obnoxious if the tooltip sort of pops up when you hover. You may want to just physically click on the exact dot that you want. So we'll turn some on. So let's do like previously before, the name, the location, and accessible. And we'll notice right off the bat that exactly what we want appears right there. And we have, light, dark, headers, blue, different color schemes. You can turn the title on, the title off. There's a lot of things you can do with that. So maybe we want the location or the name at the top. That way, when the header is highlighted, it pops up nice and neat. And let's turn off the title for this, so it just shows the name. It's pretty self-explanatory. And let's see. I don't know, header green looks good, so we'll stick with that. So now when we click on one, we get the header, we get whether it's wheelchair accessible, and the location. It's already a pretty good looking map with minimal effort. There is a wizard here, and it does give you some options. We can go in, for example, right now the accessible category is only showing colors for green and red for true and false, but the null values are not lit up at all. And I would like to change that, and let's make that orange like we did before, or yellowish color there. So now the map is looking a little bit more like our Tableau map, or very similar in fact. And you'll notice at the top there are different types. There's heat maps, which are very powerful. This will go by the proximity of the number of basketball courts within the proximity of the map, of the point of the map. So for example, if we look here, we know automatically, there's a huge concentration here. There's a huge concentration here. And that could be because there's more people. There could be because there are more poor people, you know, as we looked at in the previous example in Tableau. You know, there's a lot of things that could be causing this, but it gives you a starting point to say, okay, well, we know in this general area are much higher concentrations than in other places. There's all different ways you can visualize this. You know, density. You could turn the amount of buckets up to get, you know, smaller hexagons here. You could choose different color ramps. So many options. It's really pretty neat. Whatever you do, just go through and try these out and see if you can find one that works for you. And just choose the color scheme that you think best visually represents your data. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Nice little, you know, basic looking map. And again, we have our legend down here, just like we did before. And we could preview this on a mobile. What's this going to look like on an iPad or something like that? And preview it on the desktop. So there's so many different types of maps that are available. You can even do your own custom CSS. The wizard attempts to do that for you. You can add filters, modify your legend. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can do this. But the main thing is to understand that these wizards on the side make it pretty much foolproof to, you know, construct and modify your basic maps. And they quickly become beautiful maps. And the same thing that's available in Tableau is available here. We can change the base map to try and find one that's a little bit better for our solution here. So this is more of a color coded, and it shows street names in greater detail if we zoom in. This is really powerful. But the base maps are available. There's quite a few. You can even import your own or create your own custom base maps. And it really just depends on what you want. Right? So, you know, in these you don't really want to see a lot of street data. You just want an overall representation of the map itself. Some of these, like the nighttime, the Nokia maps have a ton of street data. So this is pretty good. So what can we do here? Well, we can export an image of this. We can crop it. Export this as PNG. That's pretty cool. Okay. So if we want to just make a snapshot for a presentation or something like that, we have the ability to do that. Let's go back. Didn't mean to close out of that. Okay. Let's bring our map back up here. So now that we have the map, I think, completed, it looks pretty good if you ask me. We can go up here to the top right and hit publish. And the map is now available. Now the free Tableau account, the free CartoDB account is just like the free Tableau account in the sense that all the maps that you create are publicly visible. And that's what helps them keep it free. Each map that you create is under your profile, which is your username.cartodb.com. And your visualizations are available pretty much for anybody. And we can copy this link, we can paste it in, and there's our map. And this is what it would look like to the general public. It's got the map itself, which is, you can fully interact with it. It's got the information, the data set, and a discussion option, which is pretty neat. So you got a lot of power here without a lot of work. And there's also, you can see the embedded option. This is if you want to put this in a website. So let's copy this embedded link. And let's see. Let's make what is that? Yeah, okay. So we're going to open Notepad and create our own HTML file. Paste that code in, and let's save it to the desktop as a web page. So this is just a basic empty web page. And if we open this, we notice that it's rendering the HTML page with the frame itself, the iframe. So you can embed this code into your own website and have CartoDB maps that you've created dynamically show up on your own web page, and it looks just like this with your attribution at the bottom and all the other information here. So that's the basics of CartoDB and Tableau, and hopefully you found this helpful. And let me know in the comments if you have any other questions or anything else you'd like to see.